in the future. But I'm a weirdo that way. I know I'm an outlier. So
Yeah. So I mean, but some people complain about that. So
there
ballparks,
comes a point where it is a legitimate complaint, though.
yeah, truly. I mean, once you get a couple years behind, but I mean, a couple months. Really, you got to think a lot of these people that are making these are first time or second time creators, and you do not know the full scope
Oh,
of what you might run into.
yeah.
Like, look, I have been doing this for years now, and I've run into issues that I did not expect or anticipate that were going to come, that were going to, find their way to me.
Okay, so as a guy who's never ran a campaign before, who's toying with the idea of it, would would I be able to go to your website and like consult you, like talk about printing and printing costs and shipping?
Absolutely. In fact, we
Oh,
actually
see,
have
now
a couple of
that
services. Yeah,
the green site, the pink site, I don't
they
think
don't
we can
have
do
that.
that.
Yeah, and then even
That
on my
would be, you know, I somebody said to Ethan Van Sciver a year or two ago. I used to work on a bridge, and I would have like a 3 hour commute. So I used to be listening to him on the way there and the way home. And somebody was floating the idea of like, Ethan, why don't you become the person that is not the comic book, but like the factory? This is, you know, John Longbox comic, Luke Stone's comic. You send the ideas to him, you pay for everything, and then he does everything for. And I don't think he explained it very well, and Ethan was not very happy with the idea. But I've been thinking about that idea for ever since. That I do think
I
we're
actually
doing
do
it
campaign management for people or project management. So like
right. Yes. Okay.
if you wanted
See.
to hire Luke Stone Studios,
Yeah.
and not, I mean, I work as in addition to Fund My Comic.
Yeah.
Fund My
That's
Comic's its own entity doing its own thing right now, but Luke Stone's what I make money on is it. Let's say you had an idea, you had a comic book you wanted to produce, and you're like, "This is what I want to do." I don't know that I want you to be the artist, Luke. I don't know that that's what I want, but I know that you know how to put together a team and make sure that things get done right and communicate
like
my
like
ideas
final
to a
production,
creative team.
pre-production. Like
Yeah, yeah.
printing. You
I would
see,
like someone to walk with me through that. I offer my services for
like you're
that
my best friend.
as a consultant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it costs money. I mean, I'm not doing it for free.
Of course not. Oh no, no,
Obviously, because it's, I mean, this
nothing is
is
free.
what we do, right?
So
But, yeah, so we do that. And then we also have someone else that does fulfillment services for people that if they need someone to ship out their product for them and make sure that it gets to where it's supposed to go,
oh,
then we have somebody else that we can have that you can work with to do that. So both of those services can be integrated right into Fund My Comic.
see,
So it can be a one-stop shop, and we're actually trying to integrate that more. And obviously, we've only
see
been live
that
for
that
5 months, so we've
that
got
is
still a lot of
awesome.
work to do. But yeah,
To me, that is the biggest selling point. And I know you're the new guy shouting among two other giants, but
yeah, I'm
you
not
know,
really worried about the other two giants.
good.
I want one day for the giants to worry about me. Really is what I want to do. Again, this is not just a Walmart version of the green and pink site. This is its own entity. This is its own thing. And I know part of the branding of Fund My Comic is me, especially on that trust pillar, is that value for people is them learning to trust me as well. Proving that I have a good idea, that I'm smart, that I have some reasonable talent, that I'm talented enough to be able to help you achieve your goals as well. And so ultimately, we know that over time, those things will build because trust comes through relationship. And so this
Right.
is a long term relationship that we intend to build with everyone in I shudder to say the word community in comics
Yeah.
because
You know,
it's not very community oriented, but it's an
I
industry within the industry, I'll say.
yeah, I don't like as mean as it sounds. I'm not a big fan of the word community.
Yeah.
It has undertones that it basically means people just pestering you and getting into your business.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you. You said you've been around for 5 months.
Yeah.
Uh, in the 5 months, have people been completing campaigns? Have people been on your site and actually have the comics in their hands?
Yes. Yes. We've had people that have been fulfilled. We have campaigns that have gone and completed and closed. And
I knew that. I actually have comics, but I just wanted to
right. Yeah.
let
Thanks for asking that
Hail
question.
Nerds Creators Outlet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I you know I've been I embraced the nerd term my whole life.
I
Now that it's cool, I'm kind of like, oh man, I wish it wasn't cool again.
yeah. I mean, all of my broadcasts tend to have nerd in the title. At least my regular ones, with nerd bacon on Thursday morning and nerd cap on Tuesday nights. So
Oh, before I forget, yeah, send me all the links. I'll put links in the description to anything
sure, yeah,
you want. You know.
yeah. So yeah, we've had campaigns that have fulfilled and
Yes,
are
I know
fulfilling.
you
And,
have, and I've been very happy
yeah.
with what I've got.
So let me ask you a question. What have
Sure.
you backed so far, and that you've gotten that really
Okay,
stands out to you?
on Fun My Comics, of course, it was here yesterday, and I just put it away. But I just backed Smokes
Oh, okay, yeah.
and the Mythicals.
The Mythicals, yep, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
those are the two that I backed on your site. I'm late to the game. I just found out about it
Yeah.
through Justin Belmont. You know,
Oh yeah. Wait till you get a load of some of the other stuff that's on there.
I
There's a
know.
lot of really really good properties over there right now, and I mean just really really cool. Um,
See, I like what you're saying. You're a creator yourself. You're a comic book
mhm.
fan. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
What did you grow up reading? I'm always kind of fascinated
Oh
with.
yeah. So my first
You got
comic
a
books
Star
I got
Wars
when I
Marvel
was
shirt on right now.
yeah. So my first comics that I got when I was little. I didn't really know much about comic books. I used to get up and watch He-Man early in the morning, and right before my dad would go to work, and he had a one of his coworkers that would carpool, and so he came to pick him up one day. He came in to grab some coffee before they headed to work, and he saw me up at 5 o'clock in the morning watching He-Man. He's like, "Man, your kid's up early." He goes, "Yeah, he gets up every day to watch that show. He loves it." And so I guess his partner got thinking that maybe I would like comic books, so he sent some comic books home with my dad. And I mean, I'm young, I'm 5, I don't read, you know.
Yeah,
So he gave them to me, and they wound up. I would look at them occasionally, and kind of enjoy them, look at them. But my mom was like, "Well, I think comic books are supposed to be worth money one day," so she kept kind of putting them off to the side or whatever. So I didn't tear them up as a wee lad, and but I was always enamored by them. Then when I got to be about 9 or 10, I started looking at them more, and then I started really collecting when I would turn 11 and 12 years old, when I was working out, doing lawn care and stuff like that for people, and I had my own money to spend. I'd ride my bike over to the comic book store and buy comic books.
yeah, I
And
love
so
these stories.
X-Men, Spider-Man was my favorite. The Hulk was always my favorite. The Secret Wars run with Mike Zeck was hands down a pivotal series for me as far as a fan and as a artist. And yeah, I just fell in love with all of that.
It was so
And then
much
as I
fun.
got a little older, about 13 or 14, I started to find the indie stuff. I had gotten my hands on an old Zap Comics, and this black and white kind of independent, do-it-yourself vibe really spoke to my personality a lot.
Yeah,
As I'm really an F the establishment kind of guy, and I don't know why. Like, I do. I get that from my dad. He was totally that was him. But yeah, so I just I think I noticed someone mentioned TMNT. I think the reason why I really started getting into comic books because I really got into the Ninja Turtles, and then I found out that they started as a comic book, and then I got their comic book, and I was like, man, that's so awesome. That's even better than the cartoon.
I tell the story that I was working in a comic book store at the time, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I remember, I'm sure my memory's either messed up or maybe my comic book guy put them on this, but I remember Love and Rockets #1, right there, Teenage
Yeah.
Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, and I picked them both up. I bought the Love and Rockets, and I put the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles down, and I was irrationally furious. I was like, these guys are making fun of comic books. This guy's making fun of Frank Miller. This
It
guy
was, yeah.
and I
It
was
was
like,
parody. Yeah.
this is my stuff. You can't make fun. I was like so protective. I put it down, and I never bought a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and I'm so mad that I had that.
Kicking yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, oh my god! Especially now when I was looking, I wonder how much it is to pick up for.
It wasn't really making fun of. It was
I
more
know, I
homaging.
know. Kids are stupid.
Yeah, but I mean, it was great. I loved what they did, but I loved that I was into punk rock music at the time.
Oh yeah,
Sex Pistols, things like that. I mean, this is the early '90s. I
and
mean,
watch every
I'm a
Monday
Gen
I'd be
Xer.
showing off my record collection, all my punk rock
Yeah,
records and
you know,
Freddie
I,
Prinze.
I mean, I'm total Gen Xer. I'm like, that was just
Where'd you grow up?
uh, Indiana,
Okay.
right about 50 miles north of Indianapolis. Just not a lot around there. It was a factory town. They made Chrysler transmissions there, and so it was not a lot to do. Yeah, Ramones, Sex Pistols, Black Flag.
Yeah, I
Uh,
grew up. I'm a Long Islander. Grew up in Long Island, and every Sunday went from like when I was 15 to about 18. It was CBGB's Hardcore Matinee.
CBGBs. Oh my gosh, I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
Um,
my buddies would go there all the time, and then we picked up instruments and played in the garage, and
yeah,
it was a lot. We never went anywhere, but it was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was that whole. I don't
And
need a record label. I'll start my own. That whole,
right, the
all
Discord.
of that
That was the
just
first time the
so
DIY.
it just so appealed to me, and it's been a part of my nature ever since. And I really, when I was 14, 15, I wanted to work at Marvel so
Yeah,
bad. And
yeah.
now as an adult, I'm like, you couldn't
I
even.
wanted to work at Marvel so bad. I made no bones about it. I told everybody about it, and my mother went to a wedding. Her woman that she worked with was marrying Mike Carlin, editor at the time, and my mother goes up to him at the wedding and says, "Oh, my son John wants to draw comic books." I don't want to draw. I can't draw. I wanted to write comic books, but my mom, he's being nice to this old crazy lady that he meets at a wedding, and I was
I
like,
got to
thank
answer this question. Ask if I
you.
like any Christian punk. So I
Oh,
grew up I was doing Christian music. And that's why I took so long to get into comic books, because I was a fairly adept musician and singer. So I was pursuing a career in music rather than comic books for a while. That was kind of my dream. But yes, Broomtree, Dogwood. Um, I did like MXPX. Uh, Big fan of POD. Uh, I mean,
wow.
let me try to. Try to remember a few other ones. Um, there was a band that I really like called John and Q Public that most people don't know, but I really like them. I liked like a lot of really obscure underground bands. It was just it was fun. It was fun. In fact, this last Sunday I just went and saw Skillet. My
You know what? It's funny. My wife was just talking about Skillet yesterday.
Yeah, somebody asked, "Well, what's your favorite Skillet song?" I said, "They don't play it anymore." They go, "Really?" I said, "Well, what is it?" I said, "It's I Saw Angels Fall Down." I saw them do that one time. They did this. We were in a youth hall, like this small. I mean, they were nobodies back then. Of course, John looked just as cool then as he does now, and we were. They did this song, and this sound, this I saw angels fall down. I was like,
I
wow,
hope my wife is
and it
upstairs
just
watching
gets
because she was just talking about Skillet yesterday. How
yeah,
funny is that?
yeah, it's great, man. So I'm getting ready to go see him again here in September. They're about going to be about an hour away. Hopefully, this time I'll get to meet the band. Little did I know that these bands that I liked, what was it, Zoe Girl or whatever the name is, Alyssa Childers, the band that she was in, and then John Cooper, that they would be these great apologists of my day. I'm like, what are they? Like, what is going on? It's like I live in a crazy world or something. Yes, Alien Youth. That was a great album, man. Yeah. So I mean, I grew up with that. I loved it. I love that underground feel. Being a Christian in the '90s also was not super popular. I used to go to a lot of skater club things that they had because I was into skateboarding, and it was just that whole
Man, you would have fit in
'90s
with my group so
thing.
well. They were all skateboarders. We're all punk
Yeah,
rockers.
I mean that's who I was, man. I mean that's who I was. Now I wound up marrying a gal that was the absolute opposite of that, and I think that's opposites attract.
Yep.
But she keeps me grounded. She's my best friend of my my everything, and which is funny because we would never have met had we met in high school. Like it just wouldn't have happened. And but I really, just really enjoyed that stuff. So when I found underground comics, it was like a spark in my brain, and I was like, can I do this? Like I was like, I think if I ever do this, I want to do this. I want to be the anarchist comic book creator kind of thing, like I like this idea. And they were already doing some really neat stuff in the 90s, and I really liked what happened with Image. Like that really just, that got me, man. I loved that screw you guys, we're keeping our money. I loved it. It was just so much about it. And so I kind of take that same vibe and mentality now to this day, I mean, that's if you think about it, that's really what Fund My Comic is. We take 3% platform instead of 2 because we're like, screw those guys. They don't need the money. They're ran by corporations and stuff like that. I mean, they got their fingers in everything, and they're getting it's like screw that.
See, I've always been. You're gonna get me off on a tangent here, but not a tangent, a tirade. I've always been one of these like, F the big guy. We're the little guys. That's what punk rock has been. Comic book fans were always the outliers and always the weirdos. And then somewhere along the line, it was taken from us, and now it's the mainstream. And Johnny Lydon, Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols, of all people, said he never thought he would live long enough to see the conservatives become the real punk rockers.
I know, isn't that so weird? But it's true. Yeah,
I'm a union construction worker, and during the whole COVID thing, everybody was like, spouting off big pharmaceutical rules, and I'm like, when did you union guys become pro big pharma? I mean, I know I got a gray beard, but didn't we used to think that business and pharmaceutical companies were the bad guys? Like, when did I never believed people would say, oh, the party switched, and now I'm like, it happened, and it happened quick.
Well, it's the goalposts were moved, the brackets were moved, and it spun too far the other way, and it got crazy. And I love the Real McKenzies; they were good too. Yeah, and then ska was like a big deal. Like they were starting to do that in the 90s, and the Supertones I liked a lot. They were like one of my favorites. And then the lead singer's name is Reese. What is that? His name? Did a song about Freddie Mercury. I'll remember later.
There was a big New York ska scene, in the late 90s. A lot of ska bands. Then my friends moved to California, and we'd go visit each other and see all the ska bands. It was a lot. And I lived in Albuquerque, so all the bands going back and forth. We'd stop in Albuquerque.
Makes tops, man. Yeah, and we had a huge, very vibrant music scene where I grew up. So it was. So yeah, music kind of took over, and I was really into comic books and drawing and stuff. But one of the things that I noticed was my ideas for stories and characters and comics were kind of over. Like, people didn't really get into that as much. They'd like, oh, that's nice. But when I would play something on guitar or sing, they perked up. They thought that was impressive. And I'm an entertainer, I guess. I like to make people entertain, like I like to impress them, make their day better, make them smile.
One of my big regrets is I never learned how to play an instrument.
Man, I loved playing guitar. I can't play guitar anymore. So when I was sick with the vid, I got nerve damage in my left arm. I'm a right-handed guitar. I'm a right-handed person, so left hand is my fretting hand, and my hands got completely paralyzed. My arm was completely paralyzed. I'm getting use back now. I can move it a bit.
Wow.
But I still can't feel it. And this is all the more fist I can make. And so,
wow.
And you can see my hand's it's got muscle atrophy in it, as opposed to the other one, which looks completely normal. This one is, like a little skeleton hand. It's not very good. So I can't play anymore. And then the vent for 5.5 weeks damaged my vocal cords.
Oh my God.
So I can't sing anymore either. So both of the things that I used to love to do, I can't do. And so when I moved to Florida to take over as a youth and music pastor at a church, and then I eventually become the lead pastor of that church, I always wanted to find a band to play with, and I couldn't really. And a friend of mine by the name of Gary Dale, his brother Jeremy, in our friend group had been drawing for IDW, did G.I. Joe, and had his own creator-owned project out under IDW, and I just kind of lived vicariously through the idea that one of us in our friend group was doing comic books, so I didn't have to. One of us made it, no big deal. So as I'm sitting in Florida, I can't find a band to play with, and I'm bored. I need a hobby. I can't, because I'm not working all the time. I'm only working about 45, 50 hours a week. At best, we don't have any friends. We don't know anybody. Family's up in Indiana. We're down in Jacksonville, Florida. So we got nothing. I got TV, and I don't really like TV that much, And I'm looking for a band. I can't find one locally to play with, unless you play like covers or metal or hip hop. And I don't want to do any of that. It wasn't my thing at all. And so I was thinking, well, maybe I'll do the comic book thing again. I'll just try doing that. That'll, a little hobby that'll, occupy some spare time. And I remember it was November, and I saw a message on Facebook that my friend's brother, Jeremy, who was just a few years older than I was, had gotten some con crud, gotten sick, and then while he was at home, he was real sick for a few days and wound up passing away.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it shook me. And I remember talking to Jeremy, and I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know Jeremy that much. I knew Gary very well. Like, Gary and I were friends for a long time because we were the same age. And I just remember I kept crying for him, and then I started, like, you really start to, get pensive when you think about these things, mortality and things. And I said, I don't want to have gone from this plane to the next without having done something that I really wanted to do my whole life. So I decided I was going to make the comic books, and I tried to find a publisher, and I was having trouble. And so I decided to self-publish, take that old mentality, that old 90s
the old punk rock,
do it yourself kind of. Yeah, I'll climb the mountain myself. And so I started a company, and then I wound up taking over as the lead pastor, which took me off of doing that for about 1.5 years. And then I kind of come back in under another publisher. Somebody else wanted to pick up the property and publish it for me. And then I wound up leaving them to kind of go out more independent. And I teamed up with Arrow Comics to make that happen. But this whole time, as I'm doing this, I start realizing that I can make a little money on it. So I wanted to make it kind of a part-time business so that I could make ends meet a little bit better. And as time would go on, I was noticing that my church was really, it was an older congregation, and that it was, I probably was the hospice pastor, and that was a tough thing for an entrepreneurial kind of guy to deal with. So in order to be able to manage the expectation that one day my salary and stuff that they pay for, I'm going to have to probably take this on myself. I started trying to swing from being a full-time pastor, part-time artist, to a full-time artist and just do the pastoring stuff for the love of it, right?
Okay.
And we were on our way there, and then I got sick in 2021. And then I was just kind of thrust into having to do this. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got into the thing full time.
So my wife was asking the other day, like, to start one of these. It's funny because we were talking about you coming on, and we were talking about starting your own crowdfunding site. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea what you got to do, and she has no idea what you got to do. So we were just asking each other questions. So these are good questions to ask Luke. So, I mean, do you have to have like deep pockets? Do you have to know a lot about computers? Like, is
Okay.
it just do it?
I don't have any of those things. Okay. I do have business acumen.
Okay.
I was I was the youngest manager
Okay.
in the district for Advanced Auto Parts. I was the guy that went around and fixed failing stores, so I knew how to market,
Oh,
and
okay.
I knew sales very well. So I understood that in order to be successful, you have to have a successful team. You have to have a good idea, a well thought out plan, and a solid team. Like that is your biggest asset. And so I did have a severance coming from the church, and so my wife and I, decided to invest some of that money where we could have just lived on it, but the other option was well, let's invest this to get this going. So it does require a bit of money
Yeah.
to get something like this going. And to be honest, the majority of the money was not even really spent on development, which a lot has been spent on development. Because remember, I said that we started with this out of the box kind of code, but it wasn't what I wanted exactly. So we've paid them for a couple hundred hours of development already. You got to think the average development hour is anywhere between $100 and $200 an hour
Okay.
for a developer, for development firm. So if you're doing the math, we've spent a lot of money on this project already.
Okay.
And so that money has come out of pocket, off of credit cards, off of out of that severance that I got, for the church closing. They were generous and helped me out. So you do have to have that, but a lot of the money and time was working with lawyers and accountants to make sure that all of your legal documentation is in place, because it's so easy to get sued in this sue-happy environment that we're in.
I never even thought of that. I never even thought.
Most people with big ideas don't.
Other people, yeah.
Again, most people with these big ideas, they don't, and that's where a lot of them get in trouble. So I apologize for that. But that's where a lot of them get in trouble, is because they're not thinking about all of the I's and the T's that have to be dotted and crossed. So we spent a lot of time working on that and making sure that was in place, so that we
So
were.
let's just say that my imaginary comic book was ready to be brought to you, and okay, I got a 22-page floppy of like Lightning Bolt Men, and I'm ready to go. It's on. I had an artist. It's colored. Let's just pretend that it's 22 pages, ready
Done.
to go.
Ready to go. Okay.
Ready to go. I bring it to you, and then what do you say to me? Do you have, you know what I mean? What is it? I'm just a goof guy who wrote a comic book.
Okay, so you got a comic book, you've got the art done, everything's ready to go. I'm like, dude, okay, you've done the hard work already.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's be honest, that's only half the hard work.
Yeah.
Making a comic book's hard, selling it's even harder.
Right.
So
right.
if you take between
That's what Jack Kirby said. He goes, "My job is to sell comic books."
Yeah, selling comic books is hard.
Making it is one thing. Now you got to sell it.
Yeah. So now I would be like, okay, so you've already paid for all of that.
Right.
What are your expectations for fulfillment?
And I
What
go,
do
"I
you
don't
think you need to print?
And I go, "I don't know."
Okay. So you don't have so you don't even have a market yet. You don't have an audience, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So a market, the key for marketing, right? Let's go to the base word, marketing. Go market. A market is the people that you want to sell it to. You don't have an audience. I would tell you that you need to build a page where you can then start collecting email addresses and start showing off some of the work that you've done. Start giving little pieces of that art away every day on social media. Start going to where the people that buy the kind of comic book that you're making is, and make friends with them. And people always laugh at me. They look at me like, make friends with them? Like, yes, make friends with them. What you don't realize is people look at sales and marketing.
You're selling yourself.
You are, but let me, if I can, I'll just be a little crude, okay? Not real crude.
Be crude.
Just a little crude. It's like walking into the club and asking strangers to go to bed with you. You don't do that. It just doesn't happen, right?
Well, my wife is in the room with me, so I've never done that.
Right. So Well, I mean, this is the difference between trying to find a one night stand and finding a wife. Building an audience is a courtship process. You go to where the kind of customer that you want would hang out, i.e., the kind of woman that you would
Yep.
want hangs out. You introduce yourself, and if a conversation starts, you engage in getting to know one another before you even ask them for the first thing, which is a date, right? And then you ask them, so you start thinking about this whole process of how do you court
Hey, baby, you're good looking.
someone.
You want to buy my comic book?
Yeah, that doesn't work, right? But that's how people do that. Like, hey, you got money, give me some. It doesn't work like that. So you really need to go
don't
in.
call them a Nazi on Twitter and block them?
I find that is not the best way to make a sale.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't.
I'm
100% of the people that I've called a Nazi and blocked have not bought my book.
I'm amazed that, I started this channel because I moved. It was the middle of COVID, and people were weird, and justifiably so. So I didn't know anybody in my new community, and I wanted to talk about comic books. So I start this channel, and I start reaching out to people that I love their comics, and I'm blocked. And I'm like, do I want to buy comic books from these people anymore? Like, I wanted to talk to them to tell them how much I love their stuff, and and then people that I don't even know started reaching out to me, and now I'm talking you, other people, and having a wonderful conversation. I don't even miss those people anymore. So you're absolutely right.
There's nothing to miss. Yeah, you got to build a relationship.
To use your crude example, the girl ain't going to give me your phone number if I'm
right. Yeah, it's you really have to look at it as a courtship thing because it is a long-term relationship with these customers that you want.
Yeah,
you want to make sure.
So in the nutshell, you're saying you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
You do, yeah.
And
so
I'm
get out and make
that
friends.
The mainstream is they're just spraying vinegar.
Yeah, I would say spend 2 months making friends and telling people that, hey, I've got a book and I'm going to crowdfund it eventually.
So this is before I even. So I go to you and you're going to say go market your book.
Go market, yeah.
Okay.
Go find friends. Go make some. Go get an audience.
Now, this is the kind of stuff that I'll use your terminology. The green site and the pink site aren't going to tell me.
No, they're not going to tell you that. They don't care.
What I mean? So I'm just going to submit and then have a failed campaign.
Yeah, that's exactly what'll happen.
So you're giving. Well,
because you want to hear another fun statistic?
You don't make your money either. So
yeah, you want to hear another fun statistic?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
The pink site and the green site want to make you think that they actually bring traffic to your website way more than what they actually do. The truth is 70 to 90% of the traffic that comes to your campaign to buy your book, you have generated either through interviews or friends or some kind of marketing campaign that you have done yourself. When the pink site gives you the percentage of what they actually bring to the campaign, they break it down. One of the things they have is the IGG search. It's really important that you understand what IGG search is. That's when someone goes to the website and they go up to that little search bar at the top and they type in the name of your campaign to go to your page. They didn't explore, because they also list explore. People that find it during the exploration process.
I'll tell
that
you right
number
now,
is small.
0 times have I went to the green site and the pink site and said, I feel like buying something. Let me look for something like I'm shopping.
Every time you've gone, you've typed in the name of what you want.
Somebody else did something interesting, or somebody that whose opinion that I respect said, hey, you should check this out.
And you didn't have the direct link, and you went there and you searched by the campaign name to find it and you backed it. Those sites take credit for that.
Okay.
So they will list search.
Oh, I got what you said.
That's their percentage.
So me going to imaginary site number 5, and I said, I want to look for Luke Stone comic. Type in Luke Stone comic. It comes up. I back it. They're going to tell you
that they generated those funds for me.
Nah, that was all me. That was me, baby.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And not at all. Right?
Okay.
And you found out about me through a Twitter post or a YouTube video, work that I did. Not work that they did. That was work that I did. So they're even lying about those numbers. They're being disingenuous with you when they tell you how much traffic they bring to your campaign.
0 times have I ever just said, I feel like shopping. I'm going to go to here.
So I don't think it's right to, number one, take 5% from someone on a relationship predicated on a lie. Because that's what it is. It's a lie. It's a lie. They're saying that they're bringing that traffic to me, and they are not. 70 to 90, especially when you cut out that percentage a couple of my campaigns, it was less than 10% was organic traffic from those websites that came to my campaign because I was hosted over there.
Yeah.
We're doing at least that good on Fun My Comic right now. We didn't think we'd be doing that good for a year. We're 5 months in. We're already doing that good.
I think it's a necessary thing. Once the other sites start shadow banning, like I don't know if you know RJ from the Fourth Age. I'm very friendly with him.
Yes.
His comic is shadow banned. Look at his comics. They're wholesome,
There's no
good
reason
comic, top quality. Why is he shadow banned?
The book Frog G.
He is the most inoffensive person on the planet.
The book Frog G, which is an all ages comic book about a frog that is a mechanic that fights a sorceress or something. Very wholesome. Nothing wrong with this book at all. Shadow banned. And yet on the pink site, and yet they still claim that they were bringing organic traffic to his site. Well, how? To his campaign? How did you do it?
I find that to be amazing. So here's another question. I rarely do research before talking to people, but I find what you're doing is very important. So I wanted to ask you support. So let's just say I bring my imaginary Lightning Man comic to you. You tell me to go out for 2 months and do some market, and now I'm ready to do it. Excuse me. And I put my comic on. Now I raise the money. Everything's going good. Would I then be able to go to the other sites, or am I?
Oh, absolutely. You can go to the other sites at the same time if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, you can run 3 simultaneous campaigns on all 3 sites if you want. I don't advise it.
I'm not planning on doing it.
You'll split your audience. My best advice to anyone is bring the 70 to 90% of the audience that you would have brought on your own to Fund My Comic and keep 2% of your own money. Instead of paying 5% platform fee, pay the 3%. Keep more of your own money.
I misheard what you said before. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then go to the pink and green site and run cleanup. Everybody else that you wouldn't have got, run over there.
Is your advice?
One at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I like.
Plan to run 90 days.
I'm sorry.
Plan to run 90 days worth of campaigning. Yeah.
Now how like for why can't I think of the term? Stretch goals and things like that. How would you advise that? Again,
have them pre-planned and know what you need. Really consider price. Really consider price of manufacturing. What's it going to cost to ship those things? Because sometimes people will have an idea for a stretch goal
that got destroyed because of shipping. I knew a guy.
Yeah, most of them do.
I met him at a comic convention, a board game convention. He made a board game, but during the whole COVID thing, the shipping, nobody anticipated the prices tripling, and poor guy is going through a divorce while trying to ship a board game overseas.
Yeah, shipping in poor foresight has killed more potential greatness than anything.
So how much does it cost to, in your experience, to do one floppy comic?
One floppy comic, if you've already got the artwork done, let's say it's just a 24 page. You said it has 22 pages. You're probably going to do. Well, it needs to be 24 pages interior plus cover, so you'll need to add a couple of pinups in there. That will you could probably get that printed for around the $2 mark. So I would estimate your first campaign. Be really happy with 100 backers. Be ecstatic with 200. Plan on printing 200 books as your baseline for what you need. It's going to cost you about $8 a book to ship for Gemini's bag and board and postage. And so plan that each backer is going to cost you $10, maybe $12 to be safe. So you need to raise $12 per backer at minimum in order to make that book printed and shipped. But you also have to consider the fact that you're going to have transaction fees from the bank, which are 30 cents plus, or 30 plus 3 or something like that. It equals out to about 5%. And then you're going to have your platform fees. So you have to work that in.
And this is not paying the artist, not paying the colorist.
No. This is just a finished book. This is just breaking even at the end.
This is the kind of information that, the pink and green guys are never going to sit down and talk.
No, they're not going to talk about this stuff.
This is worth its weight in gold. Thank you.
Yeah, they're not going to talk about this stuff. But yeah, and then so, you work out, you figure out what the fees are going to be on that. And then, so you imagine, minus whatever 10%. I would just take 10% basically. So, so let's say for instance, in order to print 200 copies, it's going to be $1,200. In order to ship those, I'm going to, I need, if I'm going to make $1,200, that's, I think I'm going to get 100 backers, so that's $12 a backer. So that works out, so but I need more than that, so I'm going to have to add shipping on top of that.
Man, you're very knowledgeable. How much is John Byrne costing a page rate right now for my comic?
I don't know John's.
I'm joking.
Rates, unfortunately,
John Byrne,
I'm not.
He doesn't even talk to peasants.
Yeah, he doesn't. There is a 1,000% chance John Byrne does not know who I am.
Yeah,
nor will he ever. Yeah.
I went to his website because I've been, like I invited you to come here. I've been going around to people that I like, just take shots in the dark. Like yesterday, Catherine Ironwood. I called her up. I found her phone number online. I called her up, and next thing you know, we're doing
great find.
So I got John Byrne's contact information just to
hear him say no.
Right? And yell at me.
I mean, just to hear him say no, right? I mean, that's worth that's worth the time for that. But yeah, so then you figure out your fees, and then you need to pad it because you got to think of, well, if I need this is my minimum amount, they're going to take these fees out. So add more than what you need there. But of course, when you bring more money, it cuts the fees more. Where people get really messed up with their campaigns is they think that it's a fixed price model, but it's a variable price model. The more backers you get, the more expensive your fulfillment is going to be. And so it's not, when you start adding stretch goals, now it's not $12 a backer that I need because of shipping $8
right.
and printing $2. Now it's more than
extra.
Yeah, so the posters are costing more, the patches are costing more. You add that in there, it increases the amount of the weight to the package, so it could make it from an $8 worth of shipping and handling to now it's going to be more like $10 shipping and handling.
Plus the cost to make that.
Right, and then you've got fees that will come off of that because your total dollar amount, your fees are generated off of the total dollar amount. So then you're going to have to always shoot high. If you think you need $1,200,
now, do you have like
to
a
do it,
fixed rate? Like if say I just say $5,000 and then I don't reach $5,000, is it canceled or is it a?
Well, yeah, we have 3 different funding modes.
Okay.
So we have keep it all, which means you're going to get the money no matter what. And the best part about the keep it all is that we can actually do payouts early.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually will do payouts. We schedule them. So we go into the system, and as soon as the money's available to go into your bank account, the system will trigger for it to go in. Okay? We do those on Tuesdays. So, and then it, however many days it takes for it to hit your bank, then you get notified.
To process it, yes.
Right? And so that way you can use that money to pay for your artist, like if you really need them for production, to go ahead and start buying things in case something gets on sale or whatever, like, ooh, they've got a sale on Gemini, so your bags and boards or whatever, someone's, Sticker Mule's running a special on stickers. You can go ahead and use some of those funds to pay for that. Then we have the all or nothing, which is we process those payments just like the green site. So it holds the transaction in our system until you hit the funding goal, and then you hit the end date. So if you've hit the funding goal and the end date, it will then trigger a process where we pre-authorize all of the backers' cards to let them know that the money is coming out. And then if it triggers that it's not coming out or something, like I don't have enough of my card, it notifies them so that they can fix it. And then 5 days later, we finalize the transaction. So you have a 5-day grace period to fix the card problems.
Okay.
And so that's how we work. That's how we do those. And then we have a storefront, what we call a storefront. And we did call it a continuous campaign, but we've changed the language to storefront because I think it helps
Storefront's
people.
friendlier.
Yeah, it helps people understand better what that mode is reserved for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and could you use PayPal or is it just credit card?
Well, no, it's just we run through Stripe, Stripe.com. So it's the same company that Pink and Green both use. Uber uses it, Lyft uses it. Pretty much everybody uses Stripe for payment processing. We wanted to go with someone that was trusted and someone that doesn't really have a track record of allowing politics to keep them from doing business
Yeah,
with people.
that's smart. That's
There's
smart.
been a couple of instances where people have claimed that it was politics, but it turns out that it was not. It was some violation of the terms of service.
Okay.
And so that was part of the thing that we had to do when we made our terms of service.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are your terms of service clear and I can find them?
Yeah, they're right on the website, but we had to make sure that we didn't contradict Stripe's terms of service. Because
You don't want to conflict with them.
yeah, and we had to make sure that we didn't conflict with our developers' terms of service. We had to make sure that that
And this
whatever
is
we
legal.
said to our client
And
was
this is why
going
you
to
pay the
work.
lawyers.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
whenever we establish a relationship with our client, they have to trust that we're going to be in good standing with our partners, right? And vice versa.
Okay.
So they have to be able to trust us in that. So it's a lot of work, and it's a lot
Yeah.
of it's a big giant puzzle that you've got to put together. And so yeah, anybody could go out there and find the company that we use and go for the very base level of crowdfunding website stuff that they have, and you're not going to pay very much out of pocket to get started. But you're not going to have Fund My Comic, and you're not going to have a viable business plan.
Before I met you, I like I said, I used your service twice so far that I remember. I think there's a third that's escaping my mind, and I was pleased. It was easy to navigate. That to me is the I've gone and looked for stuff on other sites. And I don't know. I guess I'm not a boomer, even though I look like one. I get frustrated easy, and then I'm like, well, that was an impulse buy, and I'm not going to buy it now because the website itself was incomprehensible or it wasn't user friendly. Yours was good.
Thank you.
I went on your site. There was nice pictures, nice graphics. Things changed color when I clicked on them. All the stupid little things that made it easy for a dumb guy like me to use.
I've only had one person email me and tell me something about something was a bad design on part of the user interface, and I'm like, well, first off, that wasn't design. It was total user error. Like that's what it was. It was just something that
you can have 20 people that love you. 20% of the people love you no matter what. 20% of the people that hate you no matter what.
No matter what.
You fight for 60.
I got to focus on that 60. Like really what they want or what's going to work for them.
Now let me ask you: when this person emailed, did you call him a Nazi and ban him?
No. I said thank you for your input.
Yeah, you applied to him and you tried to resolve the problem like a normal business.
Yeah, like a normal person would. Yeah.
And that's I can't understand what's going on right now.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not going to blame them. And honestly, I'm going to take into consideration when we get through our list, because we have a list of upgrades that we're doing, and okay, this is taking priority because the site is still beta.
Right.
It's still a work in progress.
Every day's an improvement.
Yeah, we're still working on things. So we're every month's getting a new upgrade until we're finally done with upgrades. At which point, then we'll start. I don't know that I'll ever be done, but at which point the upgrades get fewer and fewer, and so we start ironing out the little various concerns. It's like, well, somebody said they had a problem with that this could be better. So let's really investigate and see if it could be better. Let's explore
like
that.
a normal businessman would do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like from before. You remember the way back days before 2016 when people were kind of normal.
Dude, and I love it when people give me ideas and suggestions for the website. They're doing my job for me a little bit,
Yeah, a little market research.
Yeah, if you tell me what you want, then I can give it to you, and then that just makes our relationship better. That means you're going to use my website more.
I've used the green site, to use your terms, for board games. As you can see behind me, there's plenty of board games. My wife will say too many times. And a few times there's been errors on my behalf, and a few times there's been errors on their behalf. Everybody's human. And I will say this: the few times that like something got shipped to the wrong address because I clicked on it, I humbly apologize and they fix it. But if there's been a few times where the people themselves have messed up, and I was furious.
It happens.
You could pay like for some of these big games for shipping everything up to $300.
Wow.
And I'm furious, and I'm writing a furious email, and this person was so nice to me and fixed everything to the point. My second email, I'm apologizing. I'm telling my friends how great this company is. They messed up, and they were so nice to me that I'm apologizing and telling my friends, "Oh, they're a great
mistakes
business."
happen,
And I've since learned that that's a psychological. When somebody messes up and goes overboard to fix it, you tend to be more sympathetic to them than as if things went perfect in the first place.
Well, as a business owner, we don't want to make mistakes, but
right.
But it does happen.
Obviously.
Sometimes we have someone helping us do things, and
mistakes,
and
mistakes happen.
Sometimes we're doing it. We just had a bad day. Maybe we got some bad news, or maybe we didn't sleep well last night,
you're
or
a human being.
maybe we got the runs. I don't know. Something happened, and we made a mistake, and we apologize. And but mistakes happen, and
Right.
and
It's how you handle the mistake.
Yeah.
And that, like,
just
and
be
I
good
understand there's going to
everybody.
be some person that's going to, whatever. You're never going to satisfy this person, and they're going to rant and rave and yell and scream. And
I'm not worried about those people because
Yeah.
they're pretty easily identifiable.
So that's what I just don't understand what's going on right now in the world. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't agree with me 100% right away, right now,
Yeah, we call them trolls.
yeah.
There are a lot of trolls out there. I mean, there's a lot more trolls than
I haven't gotten it yet. I don't have enough viewers yet for my troll. I can't wait.
It'll happen, and you'll know you've made it when
Right.
some rando on Twitter hates you and you've never met them.
Yeah.
Like, I've got people, like, it was the weirdest thing. This started to pick up steam, and people started to know about Fund My Comic, and then what I was doing
Oh,
with
you must have
Era
haters.
Comics. There are people that have come out of nowhere.
Because the green site, more than the pink site, seems to have like almost like a fanatical religious cult following.
Almost.
You know what I mean?
Almost, yeah.
And it's really bizarre. Like, you can't blaspheme against it. And
Yeah.
when they actually said that they were hiring a board game czar, I don't know if you follow, but
I did.
they had a board game czar, which is a scary term, and then they had a comic book czar.
Yeah.
These are scary terms.
Yeah.
I don't know. They should have called it like board game outreach person.
Well, not a day after they hired the comic book czar, Wise of Heart gets banned off the platform. Wise of Heart had already funded, was just sitting at around 3,000 to 4,000, I can't remember, and was probably going to make $6,000, a little over $6,000 by the time it was all said and done. It had a week left to go. Gets banned, and everyone refunded. The creator had no idea where to go, and someone mentioned, "Hey, why don't you try Fund My Comic?" Luke says he's not going to ban you. He comes over. We work with him. We're still iron out big issues at this point. I mean, we're still trying to figure out, like, there's big bricks that we're trying to get to fit in the wall, right?
Right.
And so he comes over, and I'm like, let's get you going. He builds his campaign in a day. We get it relaunched, and he winds up raising over $10,000 in 15 days.
Good story.
Yeah, he was our first campaign to break 10K.
May I ask what did they give him an excuse? Did they give him a reason?
Some really cockamamie stuff about hate speech, and
Hate speech.
and one of them, like, I think one of them was like claimed pornography, but it was in that same vein. Like, these are the reasons why.
If you were making it, then I know it's not pornography, and hate speech is such
No, it was
that
about.
makes-
So you've heard of the old trial back in the day where they made a movie. They made this movie where it was evolution.
Yeah,
It was, will the science teacher teach evolution?
yeah.
And, they found this teacher willing to teach evolution, knowing that it was against the law. And so they had this mock trial. They had this, basically, like, this goofball trial in order to prove a point, right? And so he took that same concept. He goes, but what if it was a biology teacher that was not willing to teach anything but the scientific biology of
I get where you're going.
X and XY chromosome situation, right?
So that's hate speech because
Right,
it's
yeah.
against the actual science. I got you.
Yeah. So he didn't give his opinion. It was a work of fiction, and it offended the Alphabet Mafia.
Yeah, so it's Alphabet Mafia. So is the comic still on your site? Could you still is it
Oh no, he's funded and it's closed, and he's in the process of fulfillment already.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for him. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inherit the Wind, and it was the the Scopes Monkey Trial.
Yeah, this monkey trial. Yep. Mhm.
And that's where the phrase "I'll be a monkey's uncle" came from.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
if that's true, I'm a monkey's uncle.
Well, okay. I've seen your nephew.
Oh wow,
The argument could be made. No. I tease.
so this is great. I said this at the beginning, and I'll reiterate that I think it's an important thing that you're doing. A politically free site that you could go to. You have easy to understand and read terms of service that are not purposely misleading, so that they could be misrepresented. So you could take out the hammer and force it. So that
What?
have you? Let me ask you this. I got to ask you this. Have you banned anybody? Have you started a campaign and then told somebody, "Oh, nope"?
We have not done that.
Okay.
We have banned 2 users. One user came on and was spamming. It was a stalker of one of the campaign managers that we had,
Okay.
and spammed his campaign with nasty comments. And so we banned that user. And then we had one other user that was messaging people that they were a Fund My Comic campaign specialist, that they
my
could
God.
be hired to consult for their campaign and help
I didn't
promote
even
it.
think of that, but now that you said that, I could just see scammers coming out of the woodwork.
We didn't think we'd get
A guy like
scammers
me
until
who's
next year.
nervous and doesn't know what to do, and next thing you know, I'm.
We didn't think we were going to get scammers till next year, right?
Oh my God!
So we got them already, and I laughed. I thought it was great, and I said, "But how we got caught was he messaged me because I have a campaign
Did you ever
on
think
Fund
you
My
had-
Comic."
He had a good idea.
So he's like, "Yeah, I'm a campaign specialist," and I'm like, "The hell you are! I will tell you what you are. You're
Yeah, I didn't hire you.
breaking out the ban hammer."
Oh,
You know? I'm like, I didn't realize we had Fund My Comics back. I didn't even think I was yet.
yeah,
You know, I'm still learning this thing. You know,
that's it.
no,
Oh,
it's,
God,
it's
yeah.
funny. Yeah. So we
I don't
we
think
got
like
rid of
that.
him, yeah.
I don't think like that.
Yeah, and if people bring to my attention that there's bots that are coming on there trying to scam people, then we'll ban those. But no, we've not taken down any campaigns. We don't intend to. If you make it
you
past
don't want to. That's bad
Yeah.
business. Then you're not making money.
we had somebody attempt to get us to take someone's campaign down, saying that they were in copyright infringement, and we do a pretty basic scan to make sure that it's not. And I said, well, based on what you've told me, I said, and based on our terms of service and our legal team that's looked at it, we don't think that they're in any violation. They're not using any original art or anything like that. They're within fair use of what they're doing. You know, it's public domain character. And I said, so you're going to have to take that up with them. As far as we're concerned,
I
we're
didn't think
satisfied.
of that.
We're
I
satisfied.
come to you with Lightning Man, and then halfway through the campaign, you find out it was my friend Mike's all along.
If he can prove that it was his, then yeah, we will take your campaign.
I know that if a funny story, my very first time I ever used the green site, I backed a game called The Doom that came to Atlantic City. Guy raised $150,000, took it all, and I couldn't wait. This game, I'm a Cthulhu guy. It's a Cthulhu Monopoly game, and the guy who developed the game, told a buddy. The buddy went and took that $150,000, you know, and then Cryptozoic ended up publishing that game and sent me a copy.
Good. That was nice. of him.
5-6 years later, and stupid me, I'm like, I got my game. I'm like, I backed at the grand tier metal coin level, and I didn't get them. So I'm yelling at this poor guy, and the guy goes, "Well, sorry." And then I heard the whole story, and I'm like, I apologize. So, that's the kind of stuff I guess you gotta.
So there are occasions where we would take someone down if they've been approved, and but again, it's like copyright infringement, or if the law would come to say, hey, they're, if the federal government gets involved, if we're investigating them, you've got to seize all of this information.
Yeah. Well, you got to comply.
Then
with the
then we got to comply with the law.
You gotta comply with the
But
law,
that's in
right?
our terms of service. In fact, we had some people complaining about our terms of service, saying that we actually copied our TOS from Indiegogo, which we did not. But what we did is we used the exact same headers. The reason why is because we understand that the Pink site and our site are the primary user that's going to be using our website is probably going to have been using IGG.
Right.
So we wanted it to where you can pull up our terms of service and their terms of service right on the screen together, and apples to apples compare, so that there is complete transparency.
Okay, that's good.
And believe it or not, people found fault that we used the same headers. They said, oh, it's the same thing. And there are certain areas where it is verbatim, word for word, because that's boilerplate boilerplate text from the legal from the legal documents.
You talked
that are out
about.
there.
I understand that there's going to be overlap because you talked about the same.
It's the same
service.
industry. It's the same service. It's the same legal precedent for it. And so I just got a good laugh out of that. I just thought it was funny that the fault that people had with us is that our terms of service were transparent and legally solid. And I'm like, hey,
like to complain.
if that's all if that's what they can complain about. And then the latest complaint that I've heard, which I also laugh about, is which again I told you that we run our all or nothing campaigns the same way that the Green site does, which a lot of these companies, these creators will use, right? Their complaint was, well, I don't like that I might back something and then the money comes out and my bank goes overdrawn. So your diversion.
Well, that's a you problem.
Yeah, your aversion to or subversion, or whatever the word is. I'm coming up with a loss on that word exactly. To using the site is that you're bad with your money.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, again, if it is a problem that I can deal with, I will. But and the reason why we process those the way we do is simple. If I process a payment on a campaign that in 30 days doesn't fund and we have to refund everything, I can't refund the bank's fee for processing the payment, which means I have to overcharge somewhere else so that I have the money to cover any campaign that doesn't fund, that has to be refunded that way if it's an all or nothing.
I don't think that's your responsibility.
And it shouldn't be, right? And I don't want to make that the responsibility of every other person that backs any campaign on the platform.
Now let me ask you this: Could 6-year-old kids pledge money on
No.
your site? Yeah, so they're adults. So what you're saying
It's
is
adults, yeah. These are grown
adults
people.
manage your money.
If you allow your 6-year-old to go in there and use your account to do it, then that's on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our terms of service cover those things. But again, it comes down to, in order to keep our platform fee low, that's how we process those. In order to keep, doing things the way that we do and to make things the most convenient for the end result, we process our payments 2 ways. One is a direct contribution and the other one is a post contribution. And so that's how we do those.
So speaking of people that I went to your site, Belmont Press is here. I got his comic on smokes the fox.
Smokes the fox.
And I'm surprised how much I like
Weaponized
it.
Werewolf.
Yep. And Weaponized Werewolf. You're absolutely right. Weaponized Werewolf. I liked it because it was two sides of a story, and one was pretty scary, if you ask me. So, you have some videos you want to show?
Sure, yeah. I just want to show off a campaign we've actually got running right now
That'll be
from
fun.
my comic.
I'll bring it up.
So I do a lot of work with Arrow Comics, obviously. And one of the things that we have been working on is this project called Out of Obscurity. I was a part of a chat group that, people will make these DM groups in the, Twitter and things like that are intended for I'm trying to be very sensitive in saying this. You know what? I'll just be mean.
Just be mean.
They create these groups so that they can have a group of yes men, people just to placate them and tell them everything they want to hear. And I got shoved in one of these groups, and I have very little patience for those kind of things. But as I was in that group, I noticed that this person was asking for advice on something that they had produced. Normally, if you ask a group of creators that have been doing this for a while, advice, you're going to ask them on the early stages so that you can actually make changes. You don't ask them on a finished page that's colored and lettered for advice. Because if you ask for advice, the word advice, you're going to get advice on how to make that better. And then to have, to throw a fit and have a hissy fit, basically, like a man-child, that you gave me pointers, you gave me advice that would require me to go back and redo this and cost me more money. Well, that's on you. That's not on me. That's you. That's not me. Right? So I was a part of this group, and this person had asked for advice, and someone had presented the advice, which everyone in the group agreed with. And they proceeded to have a hissy fit.
It's tough to when you make something and then somebody doesn't love it as much as you, it does sting a little bit.
Right, but the question is, you
got to be mature.
Do you want your peers that you're asking for advice to tell you the truth?
Do you want praise,
or do you want
or
the
do you want
fans?
Yeah.
Right, or do you want the fans to rake you over the coals? And really, honestly, most of the fans aren't going to tell you that your book sucks. They're just not going to buy it. Where it's like, I'm going to tell you where it needs advice or where it needs work, which is why I've got my group of people, or I pay my editors to do that. Tell me what needs work, so that customers will buy my book, because they speak with their wallet really in the end. So anyway, this guy winds up throwing a fit and leaves the group and, goes nuts. And so everyone's complaining about him. And I said, you know what, there's a lot of talent here. Let's not waste our time with that. Let's just decide to make something. Let's make something with this group. We got a lot of talent. What are we going to do? And we pitched out some ideas. And I said, look, I had an idea about doing an anthology based on public domain characters. And so we started pitching around ideas and thoughts. We decided to launch this book called Out of Obscurity, which I believe I'm sharing the screen if you want to.
Okay. You want me to put it up now?
Sure, yeah.
You got it.
So we started working on this book called Out of Obscurity, which is, it takes public domain characters that might be lesser known in some cases, and still, in others are maybe known, but maybe haven't been addressed for a while. And so it takes these characters, and it's creators that have few credits to their name.
Okay.
So in some cases, this might be their first publishing credit. And we wanted to really give some of these younger guys a learning experience. So what's it like to work with a publisher, to write a script, have the script critiqued by an editor, go back and make changes, then have a creative team approved by an editor, and then work with that creative team to come up with the end result, and then just kind of work on all of those stages and processes together. And so that's what we did. So we started working through that, and we come up with this Out of Obscurity.
Cool.
Which, I'll just play the trailer for you.
Okay.
Get ready for an exhilarating journey into the boundless world of imagination. Welcome, comic book enthusiasts, to the extraordinary realm of Out of Obscurity. This groundbreaking anthology, published by Arrow Comics, unveils a legion of aspiring creators, each eager to leave their mark on the industry. Prepare to be captivated as they breathe new life into obscure public domain characters, creating their own unique tales within the pages of this awe-inspiring collection. Out of Obscurity is a testament to the unwavering passion and creative prowess of these emerging talents. They have meticulously resurrected forgotten heroes and heroines, spinning intricate yarns that span the ages. Brace yourself for action-packed battles, mind-bending mysteries, and heartwarming triumphs that will transport you to uncharted territories of excitement. By supporting our Fund My Comic campaign, you become an essential part of this historic endeavor. Together, we can catapult these aspiring creators towards their dreams of comic book glory. Join us on this epic odyssey and witness the birth of new legends. Your generous contributions will not only help us bring Out of Obscurity to life, but also grant you access to exclusive rewards, including remarkable artwork, signed copies, and behind-the-scene glimpses. Embrace the spirit of adventure, for within these pages, untold wonders await. Together, let us ignite the spark of greatness within these visionary talents and redefine the landscape of the comic book universe. Be a part of history and make Out of Obscurity a reality.
So those are all public domain characters?
All public domain characters, yes. So we've got
Clock
Korak.
Strikes.
Yeah.
So clever.
So we've got Korak, the son of Tarzan, by Hojo. Did that one. So that name's familiar.
Yeah, great guy. He was on my channel.
Yep. Ghost Story, which is the original Ghost Rider Rex Fury by Telepathic Bunny Comics, is working on that one. And then we've got
He's coming up on my channel.
Yeah, Justin Sweet, who did Chrome Dog, is on this one as well, doing Thunder Horse, the Bronze Terror, which is a very obscure public domain character.
I like to think I know more than the average bear about comic books. I never heard of that character.
Yep.
I also never heard Super Old Guy.
Well, it was originally Super Guy,
Okay.
but instead of instead of taking and reimagining Super Guy in a new day, it was, it's been like 30 years since or 40 years, whatever, since he was in comic book pages. So it's like, well, what if he just stayed this? Like, what if he just aged, right? And so it's
I guess
Super
the
Old Guy.
follow-up
now.
book will be Super Dead Guy.
It could be Super Dead Guy. And then Solomon Kane is public
I love
domain, so the
Solomon
Puritan. So that one is Matt Fowler and Howard Chin are a little more decorated publishers, but they jumped in here to provide a story.
And this looks awesome. This is
Yeah.
the one that struck my, no disrespect to anybody else, but the Tower Time Forgot seems really cool.
Yeah, Jose Garcia, I love his art. I love what he does. Very cool looking book. Very excited about that one. And then The Clock Strikes, which is by R.J. Carter.
That is so clever. The clock strikes. So
Yeah.
the hero is the clock. That is
Yep.
that is so
Yep.
so pulpy. I love it.
It really is. And so if we will be
Daredevil,
adding, we will be adding Not Daredevil as an extra story if we hit our stretch goal. And so we have some stretch goals. We just haven't reached any of them yet. We haven't reached our printing goal. Like that's the funds.
How
that we
old
need
is
to
this
raise.
campaign?
We've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, so 29 days. So
Send me all the
we're about
links.
a
I'll
month
put
in.
all the links in the description.
Yeah, so we're about 30 days into this thing, and we've got another week to go. There may be an extension. I'm not sure. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. The work that's gone into it is really good. These creators they've worked their backsides off on this stuff, and so I'm pretty excited about it. $10 digital. I mean, you can just grab a $10 digital.
What do you find? Do most people want a physical copy, or do most people want a digital copy?
It depends. It varies these days.
Okay.
It really does vary these days. Most people do want physical,
whippersnappers.
but not everybody can afford the physical.
Yeah.
It's $25 for the physical copy of this book. It's going to be probably somewhere between 90 and 100 pages by the time it's all said and done. And
Considering a modern Marvel comic is what, $6 now?
yep. Mhm.
And
So while I'm here, I'm just going to show off the website
yeah, sure,
a little bit.
sure, if you want.
So we do things a little different here. When you're on the green site and the pink site, you can choose a reward, and then you have add-ons and another stage, another step that you go to.
Right.
But you can only choose one reward, and then you can add as many add-ons as you want. But like one of each of those add-ons, right? And we wanted to do more like an e-commerce site. So here, if you wanted a digital copy, you could choose digital. Or if you wanted to get rid of that digital, you could just pull it out of the cart. But you notice there was a number there. So if you see like this, I
Yes.
want this physical copy. And let's say I want 3 copies. I want one for myself, I want one for a friend, and I want one to collect.
Oh, what if you're you own a store. You own a physical comic book store.
Well, then I can get up to 5 of them if I want
Okay.
at that price. But at that stage, what I would say, if you own a physical comic book store, talk to me directly and I will hook you up because
Okay, there you go.
we do retail pricing.
Okay. There you
So $25 plus shipping, and I notice I put here, use code SHIP2 when backing multiple items to save on shipping. Okay.
Okay.
So if I go to my cart, it's going to pop this up, and you're going to notice I got to sign in. So we're still working on this where it shows the cart. The cart shows empty, but we have security things in place that you can't purchase until you're logged in.
Makes
so you
sense.
just create your account and be logged in, and you can see your cart. All right. We're working on to where something that we changed when we made the latest update made it to where you couldn't see it if you weren't logged in. And we're not exactly sure what little line of code caused that. We thought we found it, but that wasn't it.
Okay.
So
Ideally, you want people to be able to see.
to still be able to see it, yeah.
Yeah, but you
So-
can't buy it unless you're logged in.
Yeah, but
That makes sense.
if you're logged in, everything works fine. If you're not logged in, it just shows that you haven't chosen a contribution, but you have. And so we're trying to find the line of code that is causing
Okay.
that to be hidden behind the login, because everything else is hidden behind a login, and so that's the only thing that you see that's not hidden behind a login. So we're
Okay.
trying to figure that out. But again, that's what happens when you have, this massive powerhouse of a crowdfunding platform, and you keep adding new weapons to the outside of your Twisted Metal car.
Yeah.
It just, you have to work with that. So I'm going to choose no tip, so I don't have to worry about that
Yeah,
field.
that guy runs the place as a jerk. Don't tip him.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Here's about the tips. People need to understand this. If you want to get on the featured page, like up in the front page in the featured section, your backers have to tip. That's the algorithm right there.
Okay.
So if you want your campaign featured, your backers have to tip. The more tips you get, like the quantity, all right, the number of tips, of individual tips, the higher up on the list you go. The larger the sum of the tips that you raise, the longer it stays on the front page.
Okay.
So the quantity, number of individual tips, the higher on the list it goes. The greater the sum of the tips, the longer it stays. Okay. So this tip totally benefits all of us.
Okay.
And that money goes directly back into upgrading the website to
Okay.
add new features.
That's good. Glad that you explained that.
Yeah. So I need to do more marketing for that. We've kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that, so we need to.
Yeah,
work on
I had no idea what that meant. I was just joking.
right. Yeah.
You
I used to have
got
a
them out.
thing here at the top that said it, and people didn't like it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll do away with it. But now I've got to find another way.
Yeah. Well, how you got to get the information out?
Right. Yeah. All right. So we're not going to tip this time, but he says use Ship2 to save money on shipping. So let's try that out. Ship2, hit apply, and it saves $12 discount.
That's great that you tell them that.
Yep.
Tell us that.
Yeah. So if you're going to use Ship2 is a straight $4 discount off of each item it's applied to for shipping. Well, it takes it off of the actual sum because the shipping is calculated after. So, but it basically saves $4 off of the total for that item. You can put it on any item that you want. If you don't want to create your own code and have your own code set up, if you want to use our site default is Ship2. So I'm going to ship 2 items, or you can ship more than 2, but it's a minimum of 2 items. So it takes $12 off. I'm going to make this a regular contribution. I can also choose partially anonymous or fully anonymous.
Oh,
I'm just going to say regular contribution. Then you choose your credit card, and then you choose your address.
You have to fill that out for us. Your credit card in your.
Yeah, let me go ahead and fill that out for you just so you can see that real quick. So as you can see right here, it says that the shipping is $8 per book, right? So we're taking $12 off of that total amount of shipping. So you can see here, shipping's been added up to $24, but we're taking $12 off of this.
Yeah.
So it makes that shipping out to be about $12.
Okay.
So your total for 3 books is going to be $87. And now you will do a pledge, a one-time pledge, instead of having to go back in and pledge 3 times or multiple times, or have to have multiple tiers that equal up to be able to do 3.
Yeah.
You can literally make an a la carte
That's what I
experience
said.
for your
It's pretty
backers.
simple, pretty easy to use.
Yeah.
You know,
And then-
silly me. I like that it clicked a different color when I, so
Yeah.
I didn't accidentally click on it twice.
I just like simplicity. I really do.
Yeah.
There's something beautiful about it.
You got to keep it simple.
Yeah. And so that's what we're doing here with the site, trying to keep
Yeah,
things simple.
Bronze Star. That's the other one that I backed.
Yeah, Bronze Star is great. That one is shipping soon.
Yeah. Mike Barron, Pat Broderick.
Yeah.
How Private American. So I didn't realize I used your site.
Well,
for
you
a
may
while.
not have gotten Private American on here. One of the things that we added is you see, oh wow, we raised $81,000. Well, actually, it has raised $81,000, but it's $77,743
on other sites.
was
Okay.
raised on other sites with 1,574 backers.
Well,
so
that's
we have
good,
this
because
transparency thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, people want to feel that they're joining a winning team.
Right, exactly. And he's closed all of his other campaigns. So if you have run in a campaign and you have closed your other campaigns out,
Yeah.
then you've got the ability to aggregate those totals here so that
Yeah.
people can see what you've actually accomplished. And Mad, no, I didn't make the bird dance because I'm not on my channel. I'm actually just
I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds
well.
fun.
So on my channel, I have this little bird whenever someone backs or raises money while I'm streaming, we joke, we say we're flipping the bird.
Oh, I got
Okay,
you.
so yeah, they flip me the bird, and then I have this little dancing bird that I play, and so unfortunately, I'm not in my StreamYard. I am a guest on the Long Box, as you can see, I
Yeah, and thank you for
linked
bringing your hordes with us.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that everyone that's coming from my channel make sure to like and subscribe to your channel.
Oh, thank you.
So that they can get your contact and get your content, because conversations like this with creators is so needed. Just nice, honest,
I
nuts and bolts kind of stuff, man.
he
It's great.
commented earlier, Arthur. He's an old timer. He worked for Marvel as a kid. He was a woodchuck. He was the kid that would Stanley would he would go to Jack Kirby's house. Jack Kirby would give him artwork, and then he would get on the train and go to Marvel. So he was a little kid working as a woodchuck at Marvel. So me and him had lunch today, and one of the things that we were talking about is there's really no more Stan Lee. Stan Lee, his main job, I think, is like my brother's a biker. My brother's not into comic books, but he knew Stan Lee. And when we went to a comic convention, Stan Lee came out, and my brother was like, look, and my brother probably has 3 comic books, and I was like, where is that guy right now? Like I was saying, CB Sapolsky is sitting in Stan Lee's chair. I don't even know what that guy looks like, and I'm a guy who's actively into comic books. So yeah, there is no more Stan Lee. So you're being Stan Lee right now. You're talking. You're talking about your company.
Yeah.
You're coming on to people's stream.
Well, I hesitate to talk about this. So, people will so easily think that when you believe in yourself that is arrogance.
No.
But it's not. So I am not trying to put myself in a league with a Stanley or Jack Kirby.
Right.
But I know that the potential is out there as far as creativity goes. But we now have a mainstream system that will completely never allow that to happen again.
Right. They're the anti-Stan Lees.
Yes, and so the only way for that to happen is for that to happen in the independent realm.
Right.
And most independent guys that have those kind of ideas don't have the same salesmanship and business acumen and the ability to produce those ideas the way that Stan Lee did. So part of what I believe that I want to do is help. If I'm not that creative mind by myself, that I help give that creative mind an opportunity to flourish and to become the next Stan Lee through this stuff.
Right. We got, you got to sell your website. You got to sell your material, and you have to be a salesman for the buckles, for scribbles,
For
over here.
comics, man. Yeah, like
You know what
that's
I
what
mean?
it is. I'm advocating for comics.
Right,
You know,
right.
there's a
And I
lot of
don't
people that are
understand-
advocating for themselves, but I'm advocating for comics.
I don't understand these Kelly Sue DeConnick's don't read my book. You know, we've all seen that.
Look, a burnt book is a
Message
bought
received.
book.
Sue, I may be an ass, but I'm not the kind of ass that goes where I'm not wanted. You don't
Well,
want me,
and people aren't
Fine.
reading her book. Plain and
Yeah,
simple,
Luke-
they're not reading her book.
you know?
I'm a firm believer in capitalism. I believe a burnt book is a bought book. So go ahead, buy my book and burn it. I don't care. Hopefully you will read it before you do that, because I think you'll be
Buy 6
massively
copies.
entertained. I mean, you know, I'm no schlub, you know, when it comes to this stuff. I've failed enough that I've gotten reasonably good at what I'm doing, and so I try my best. Yeah, you know, marketing is hard,
Right.
and I'm trying to teach marketing to creatives, because if you just go out there and try to decipher all of the marketing material that's available to you, you may not know how to apply it to your direct area of
Are you fans
expertise.
of the band Kiss?
Yeah, I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, I you know, I think we're in the Kiss generation. But Gene Simmons was on a radio show. I told the story before, and some kid came on the show and he was asking advice, and he told Gene, he's like, "Yeah, I want to do it all. You know, I want to market my band. I want to do everything." And Gene Simmons, typical arrogant Gene Simmons answer was, he goes, "I will believe that you're a good guitarist. I will believe that you're a good singer." He goes, "And I will believe that you're a good songwriter." He goes, "But I don't think that you're a good stage manager. I don't think you're a good lawyer. I don't think you're a good marketer." He goes, "Even I can't do that myself. Get yourself a lawyer. Get yourself a man." And I like what you're saying over here, because, you know, I am flirting with the idea of making my own comic. I invited you on the show, and you're giving me good, solid, reasonable, easy to digest for a dummy like myself answers that really it's settled my stomach, and I appreciate that, and I think it's good. And now you went and you made a website that is not going to mess with me. You are going to give me advice. You're going to help me when the time is right. I think this is important. I think you're doing something important, because
I appreciate
first off,
that.
comic books are important.
Yes.
Comic books are one of, you know, jazz and comic books are, I forget, one of the only 3 or only 4 original to America comic art forms, excuse me. So, and I do think that comic books are American history. Like, I think, like, Superman #1, Action Comics #1. This is American history. This is up there with Casablanca. This is art. So, you know, I goof around and I'm silly, but I do think that comic books are important. They taught me to read. I couldn't read. They gave me wonderful stories. I think they gave me a sense of, like, justice and civics and patriotism. They formed a culture that I think brought a lot of oddball, outcast kids back in the 80s. You know, us comic book people, we didn't fit in.
No,
You
we
know,
didn't.
and they gave us, like, an identity. And, you know, so what you're doing, I think, is good. It's a noble thing. It's an important thing. There, off my
appreciate
soapbox,
I
back down to
appreciate
a normal person.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's, you know, what I'm trying to do, and I'm part of, you know,
And
part
you're
of that
making a buck.
developing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, part of that developing trust is, you know, if I had come on here and I told you I don't know how to sell a book, you're not going to trust me to help sell your
No.
book. You know, even though I'm not directly in charge of marketing any of your books individually, I'm in charge of marketing Fund My Comic.
Right.
But right here, as I am marketing Fund My Comic, what are you guys seeing? You're seeing the other books that have made it to the featured page
Yeah,
on
and
Fund
I'm
My
seeing,
Comic. Yeah.
and I'm seeing a bunch of different genres. Yeah, I'm seeing vigilante justice. I'm seeing cowboys. I'm seeing superheroes.
There's
sci-fi.
all kinds of stuff, dude.
You know,
Yeah.
isn't
there's
it kind
all
of
kinds
weird that
stuff.
comic books are dominated by superheroes? Can you imagine turning on the TV and the only thing on TV was hospital dramas?
Well, that's almost feels how it is these days.
Yeah.
I will say this: if we go to Explore and we go over here to games, I believe a new game is launching.
Oh, you do?
TTRPGs.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a new game that is launching. Mine is closed right now, but we will be opening that back up soon.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a new one that is. This campaign is approved, but it has not started yet. It launches on the 22nd.
So this is a tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah, this is a tabletop role-playing game.
Cool.
So as you can see, we have multiple categories. What we wanted to do is set this up like a comic book shop or a comic book convention,
Okay.
where you can expect to find comics, graphic novels, manga, books, magazines, role-playing games, board games, video games, card games, collectibles, miniatures, apparel. We have a dedicated digital market.
Okay.
So if you're selling digital copies, then you can put that on there. We just added music so that we could bring in Edge of the Blade. So we have our first band on here.
Oh,
There
cool.
actually, we got another site that we're launching called fundiverse.com, which is going to be for movies, music, tech.
When you're
Yeah.
when you're hanging out with Jeff Bezos and you're lighting your $100 bills on fire, just remember the little guys like me.
Well, I don't know if that'll ever happen. I grew up poor, so I will never probably light a $100 bill on fire. And Jeff is a little weird for me, so I don't know that those two things would ever happen. I do hope one day to, just be able to live comfortably doing this and produce comic books, and to be able to advocate for comic books, because I feel like we need an advocate
And
now.
I'm not just I'm also a customer here. I forgot that I got this too.
Yep.
know.
So yeah, Anvil number 2 is doing really well.
Yeah.
They're up to 40,
Just
almost
much for that.
4,500
I
on
got to support my buddy
on
RJ.
this website. Yeah, very excited about Anvil. Anvil's a great magazine. So yeah, we've got a lot of really cool things up there. When we first started out, people talked about our aesthetic, and I was like, look, I know a lot about branding, and I know a lot about aesthetic. I'm like, I could spend ages working on getting the aesthetic right. What I need to do is focus on working with the experts on making sure that the site functions the way I want it to function, and so that everything is secure and that we can easily crowdfund. Then the aesthetics will come. But the first thing, and all right, so here's a free marketing stuff. And I don't know how long your show normally runs, but it's I'm probably gonna have to be heading out.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
I normally talk for an hour, but this was really interesting.
Oh, okay.
And I'm off tomorrow, so
Yeah,
Normally it's a hard limit of an hour.
Yeah, I just kept talking, and I'm like,
Yeah, and
I was
you
like,
were good.
you'll shut me up when it's time. So here's some free master class, I guess, stuff that I've learned over the years about branding. All right, your comic book is your product; it's not your content. Okay, it is your product, and your product is part of your brand. Okay, so you may think that Anvil is the brand, or for a lot of these publishers, it's the publisher that's the brand, right? Arrow Comics is these are both Arrow. No, that's not Arrow Comics. This is Arrow Comics. Chrome Dog is Arrow Comics, and Out of Obscurity is Arrow Comics. My book on here is Arrow Comics. So we have a lot of Arrow Comics properties on here. So that's kind of its own brand. Fund My Comic is a brand. Luke Stone Studios is a brand. John's Longbox is a brand. So what we don't realize is that we have a brand. So Anvil is a brand as well. Now these brands are more than just words, and they're more than just logos or pictures that are manipulated to create something aesthetically pretty, colors and lines. We think that's what branding is. No, what real branding is, John, is taking a human value that your core group of customers, your preferred group of customers, feels on the daily. Taking that value and associating it with the thing that you have. In my case, it's Luke Stone Studios, it's Arrow Comics, it's in the case of Fund My Comic, particularly since that's what we're talking about, my brand for Fund My Comic, the values that I want to be associated with the brand, irrespective of the logo, of the site colors, of all that stuff. When I say green site, you know which one I'm talking about because
Right.
it's green. When I say pink site, you know, because it's that one. We understand that because it's all part of the brand, but we associated those brands based on the experience with the site, right? We're the gold site. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but we're the gold site.
Okay.
So, if you will, the gold standard for crowdfunding comic books and
Clever.
games.
Clever.
Yeah. So, so for those brands, what we really are doing is whatever that logo is, whatever that color is, whatever that look, the thing that you see and that you associate with it. Fund My Comic or FMC, when you're not seeing the logo and eventually you'll spend enough time in relationship with it to where that logo, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it starts to create an image in your head. But that image is now connected to something in your heart. And the three things in your heart that it's connected to is freedom of expression, fierce independence, and trust.
Okay.
Those are the three values that you feel and that I feel and that everybody watching this right now feels. Everybody that ever walks on that site, they know what they want to be. They want to be free to express themselves the way that God made them to express themselves. They want the ability to be fiercely independent, to run their own business and their own lives the way God intended them to be able to do it. And they want to be able to do that with this core trust that is unwavering and unshaking.
Good.
Those are our core values. That's our brand. Our brand might be
I like
Fund
what
My
you're
Comic, but it's fair. But it's freedom of expression, fierce independence, and trust. That's our brand, and it doesn't matter what the logo is. It doesn't matter what the colors are. It doesn't matter. It could be a little scribble up there.
So I got what you're saying.
So what you're trying to do with
your brand becomes your reputation, the way you behave, the way you
it's your values. It's the values that you want people to think of. So when people think about Arrow Comics, they look at the Arrow and they think, oh, that's just really cool underground comics. That's the value. Like, that's the value that we're trying to do. That just fun and just no holds barred entertainment. That's our goal.
Cool.
Is just fun stories, just entertainment. And so when you think of Arrow Comics, you know that the first thing we're focusing on is a good story. Like, that's it. That if you get that, it's going to be a well thought out and sometimes whimsical storytelling. That's it. And, so you've got to figure out, well, what's John's Long Box? What's this show's brand, right? Doesn't matter what the logo is. It's what people associate from their heart to their head. And that's what you're working on.
Goofball wants to talk about comic books.
Right? So if you're out there right now and you're in comics and you're trying to figure out how to establish your brand, the best thing that you can do is not focus so hard on the aesthetics of your... Now, the aesthetics of your comic book do matter, right? Okay.
Right.
We want high quality art, high quality writing, and we want high quality finished products, the physical books, right? You want that as part of your brand. But what you want to do is you want to take the values that people hold dear and you want to associate those values with your name. So if you're out there trying to market your comic book, that's the first step in selling. Like, what are the values of the people that you are targeting? And how can you associate those values with your brand, with your name?
Cool.
And whatever logo, whatever brand, whatever image you decide to associate with your name. So
that's cool. I like it. I like what you're saying. Yeah. And I wish you success, man. And I tell you, when I finally get my act together and, as my dad used to say, poop or get off the pot. When I decide to get off the pot, no bones about it. I'm coming to Fund My Comic.
Well, I know we'll love to have you, and I know the fans will love to have you.
Without a doubt. There's not even a consideration for the other. I'm coming to you first, and I like what you had to say. You are personable. You're approachable. You're passionate. That's. I know nobody could argue against that.
Comic books.
And you answered questions without any. You're not a politician. You didn't give me a roundabout. You gave me direct answers.
I'm a comic book artist and a writer. That's what I'm a comic book guy. Yeah, that's what I am.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed our chat. I could talk to you for another 20 hours, but
yeah, probably.
It's trouble, and I got to go have some dinner now. My wife is already looking at me like,
"What are you doing?" Yeah, dinner's been ready for me down there for about an hour. But my wife, she's aware. See, look, I was a preacher.
Yeah,
I was a preacher for the last 10 years, right? So you give me an opportunity to talk. I mean, I'm going to.
I don't have many gifts. One of my gifts is I think I'm good with conversation.
You are good with conversation, John.
Put me in a room with somebody, and I will.
That's what Hojo told me. So
Hojo, thank you.
Yeah. So we hadn't interacted much, and Hojo comes. We've got a little group, and Hojo comes in and he goes, "Man, I just had one of the best conversations.
I love talking
in comic books that I've ever had on a live stream." And I was like, "Really? With who?" And he was like, "Well, John from John Longbox." And I was like, dude, you gotta introduce me. I would love to talk
I think
comic
he
books.
was the one that sent me a message, said you got to talk to Luke, and I said, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know,
And so I'm really glad that he did. And he was right.
me too, me too.
You're a great conversationalist. You ask
Thank
great
you.
questions. This was easy. Like this was easy. Sometimes, you know, you go on these things and you feel like it's like pulling teeth trying to get to
I've had-
something that's going to be sound biteable. And I think, man, tonight there's been a lot that have,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you could easily clip and quote. Yeah.
You were easy to talk to. You know, it was a pleasure. My wife was sitting there listening, which she never does. I think when you talked about Skillet, that got her to come down and listen.
Yeah. Well, I
And
love when
Hojo is good people.
He is good people.
Ronan said
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. He reached out to me and asked to come on. I was like, yeah, sure. You know, and by the end of the talk, at the end of the hour, I was just like, I love this guy.
Oh,
Same-
he's great. Yeah.
Same with
He is.
Justin Belmont. You know,
Yeah.
I think he was in the chat before. If I may wax philosophical, I started this because I was lonely and I moved to a new area, and now here I am. I'm talking with you, and now I'm thinking like, oh wow, one of my dreams of making a comic book became this much more realistic after talking to you, and I owe that to Hojo. I owe that to Justin, and you know, I got off my butt, made a channel. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was pushing buttons. Don't watch my first couple of videos. It's not indicative of how I work.
I think everybody that wants to make a comic book should make one. I do believe that the barrier of entry should be a little high.
Yes.
So that
yes.
it weeds out the lazy ones, right?
Right.
But with a little bit of work and a little bit of determination, I think everyone should be able to make their first comic and make it at least feel the realization of that dream, if they really do have that dream and it's not just a money-making scheme for them.
Well,
That's
have no
what I
illusion
believe.
of you know of retiring off of my comic book ideas, but
Right, but you should be able to make what you
but I
want
would
to.
love
And
to share these stories with people. You know,
And I think part of my calling is to help make that barrier of entry a little less painful. You know, to release.
but you are
know,
right. It should be a little painful because
It should be a
otherwise,
little, yeah.
because if it's flooded, if I go online and I'm back in comics and I'm getting crap, I'm going to move on.
Or you're
know,
back in a bunch of
I'll
books
be
and no
gun
one's
shy.
fulfilling.
I
Yeah.
just spent $25 on this garbage. You know.
Yep.
So I understand what you're saying. That you're being smart by having a standard of quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to say before I got to go?
Go back some comic books and fund my comic, guys.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done it. You know, I'm not just a hair club member. I'm the president. You know,
Yeah.
if you remember those commercials.
And I think you should go buy some more. Buy some more comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Be sure to share this out. Let people know about John's channel.
No, I'm just showing this. Look at that.
Oh,
I
look
still
at all
got
those
stacks
comics.
and
I love
stacks
it.
and stacks of comics.
Yeah. Make
You
sure
know.
you guys are, everybody that's coming over from my channel, make sure you like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
This one. And everyone from your channel, if you would go ahead and come over and
Go over
like
to
and
the-
subscribe mine
Send me
too.
the
Yeah,
links.
we
I'll
love-
put them in the description.
yeah, absolutely. I will be streaming tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We do a long form stream from 9 a.m. to noon on Thursday mornings called Nerd Bacon, where we talk about the news. We have Randy Zimmerman, Pedro Ang, Whiskey comes on there. Sometimes we have some other special guests, and we talk comic books in the industry. We talk insider stuff, and it is a little goofy, a little silly, but we try to keep it safe for work. But it's very much a long form
Cool. I'm
conversation.
I'll get my coffee and I'll watch your show tomorrow.
Yeah. We intend it for people to be able to listen to while they're working. So it's one of my highlights of my week, and I'll have a lot of fun doing it. So and maybe one week we'll have you come on,
Oh, I
and
would
we
love
can
to.
talk about what you're doing with helping with the bullhorn. Help being a cheerleader for independent comic books, because we need more. We need a lot more cheerleaders.
I
for
read so
indie
many
comics.
comics that aren't selling well, and I'm like, this should be $100,000, 100,000 copies a month. You know.
Let's go Iron Age, man. We'll get there. We're gonna get there.
Good. And
We're
thank
gonna
you.
get there.
Thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed
Thank you
this.
for having me. This has been
I
so
was
much
really
fun.
excited because this is something I think is important. It's important to make comics, but what you're doing, I think, make it a politically neutral site that's fair to everybody.
Yes.
Wow, who would have thought that fairness? In
Oh
the
man,
business-
I know, what a novel
such a-
idea.
I
It
know.
seems like all the businesses that I start, I'm like, why hasn't anyone done this already? I feel like it's like no brainers.
Can you imagine if I opened up a restaurant tomorrow and I quizzed people on their politics before they came in to get a sandwich?
Yeah. Right. That'd be silly, right?
Wouldn't people think I'm crazy? But why does the comic book industry do this? I don't know. All right. I could talk for another hour about this.
Yeah,
but,
me too. Don't get me on that rant. Jeez. Join me tomorrow morning when we talk about that one.
Okay. All right. I will. I still wake up early, even though I'm on vacation. All right.
I hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, like and subscribe to go over to Luke's channel. What's the name of your channel?
Luke Stone Studios.
Luke Stone Studios on YouTube. Go
Yep.
back fund my comic. This great guy. I think this is a great venture, a great business. I'm glad somebody did it. I'm glad somebody smarter than me did it, because I would have.
Well, I don't know if I'm smarter than you. I'm just.
Oh, you're smarter than me.
I'm
Most people are.
just not a. Someone asked me. They said, "Well, Luke, why you? Why are you the one to do this?" Because I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of failure. I think that's where a lot of people wouldn't do it, because they were afraid of failure. I'm like, yeah, there was a lot of risk in starting this and it not working. I would have ruined my reputation.
I get nervous about things, so I like I said, you put me at ease about so much.
Yeah.
I think you got this voice that is just relaxing and calming. It's good. I'm glad you're doing this. I'm glad you're doing this.
I'm having fun.
You're doing a good thing. And thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing your fans over. Any of my fans, go and like and subscribe over that Luke Stone Studios, and your fans, if you want to like it. I'm trying to make it to 1,000. So
Definitely fans, definitely anyone from my channel, please. I'm going to leave this up open to the public. I did start it a little bit late, so if you came in about 20 minutes into the conversation. I just saw the link. I was like, oh, I should have hit that link earlier. But be sure, come on over, like this channel, subscribe to it. John does some great interviews over here. I've been listening to him while I draw.
Thank you.
Playbacks. You guys got to check him out. He's good people.
Thank you. All right.
Yep.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for coming down. And this was a blast. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.